Thank you, everybody, for today. What if I told you that adapted tango reduces the risk of developing Alzheimer's disease? Alzheimer's disease is the 6th cause of death in the US. Every 66 seconds, someone in the US develops the disease. More than 5 million Americans are living with Alzheimer's disease right now. And by 2050, it's expected to affect 16 million Americans. My name is Karin Tovar, and I'm studying clinical mental health counseling at George Washington, and I have studied dance for over 30 years. Here is my business partner, Alex Hartzell, who is a physics fellow in the US Naval Research Laboratory. We both share a love for dancing for seniors. Mine's comes because I was around for my grandparents and my great-grandparents as I was growing up. On the other hand, Alex has experience teaching martial arts for seniors. As a graduate student here, I got curious about the connection between mindfulness and tango. So the first natural step was to look at the science and see what the research has been done and what are the effects of dancing. And what we found was fascinating. The New England Journal of Medicine did a research about leisure activities, and what the most surprising was that dancing was the only physical activity that lowered the risk of developing dementia. Dancing has its largest effect, and it reduces the risk of developing dementia more than any other activity. But we didn't stop there. We went further and asked to different academic and clinical leaders here at George Washington and around the country. And this is what we found. We spoke with Dr. Corcoran from the School of Medicine, and she liked the idea because it uses large muscles group, it is repetitive, and involves music. In addition to that, involves touch, which activates a part of the brain that increases posture, motion, engagements, and social interaction. Besides this, we spoke with Dr. Trachtenberg, who is an expert and works on a daily basis with seniors with dementia. And he said, great idea. A body in motion stays in motion. Music, exercise, social opportunity, all is good for seniors. On the left side, you see Dr. Garcia and Dr. McGivern, both of them advisors on the clinical mental health field. And we also have here Dr. Prater, who is excited to do a pilot with us. But what is Engage Minds? Engage Minds is a social venture that uses dance as an holistic intervention. And what is the service that we provide? We provide a service that is 2-hour intervention, 1 hour of adapted tango and 1 hour of group therapy in series of 12 and 24 weeks with pre and post assessments. These are validated skills for cognitive and depression and are important to us so we can measure the improvements of our clients. This is a very important part of our service. At the same time, but how we do this, how we provide the service to different senior facilities. The way we do is that we build teams of 2, 1 mental health counselor and 1 dance instructor. They both get trained in dancing, but also in different procedures, and they both get to send to different senior facilities from independent living to memory care centers. And now I'm going to pass to expand more about the business model to my business partner, Alex.
Thanks, Karen. Before we can start offering our service, the first step is to train our teachers, right? Thankfully, DC has an enormous community of tango dancers already, over 2,500 in the area. Many of them are already trained in counseling, and they've already reached out to us offering their support. So we have a good basis to draw our teachers from. Then we can offer our service. First, we're going to offer it to centers that have seniors who can still live independently, things such as senior centers. This is where we find patients who are in the early, maybe at-risk stages of dementia. They haven't really been clinically diagnosed yet. There are over 600 such facilities within 10 miles of here. Each one has more than 100 potential students that we could offer our service to. Vita seniors here, we've already offered an adapted tango course too, and we're going to be returning weekly. There are also centers that have residential patients who are completely dependent on their caretakers. These are memory care facilities and similar things. There are over 100 within 10 miles again. Each one can have between 20 and 50 patients there. This is another opportunity. Engaged minds could dance on just these two legs. We would be sustainable just from these. But we are not stopping there. We have alternate revenue streams that we've explored. First, we're looking at partnering with different organizations that share our constituents. Things such as the AARP Foundation, different organizations that offer grants to programs such as ours, and others that have brick and mortar locations where we could offer demonstrations or other classes. We're looking at holding fundraising events once or twice a year. The Annapolis Tango Group, pictured here, they held a fundraising event in February. They set a goal, they reached it, they passed it by 50%. We think we can do the same. We're also looking, as Karen mentioned earlier, at partnering with different research groups in the area. We've already reached out with Dr. Corcoran, Dr. Hackney, mentioned earlier, and they're looking forward to working with us to bring actual research into our program. So, when we built this business model, we wanted some verification that it would actually work. We looked at similar social ventures that train professionals to go out and offer a service to their community. We found these 3 examples, all of which have over 5 years of experience and are continuing to grow. So we really believe this business model will work and has been validated before us, as long as the numbers support us. So let's look at the projections. First, we had to price our service. It cost us between $150 and $200 to offer one session to a client. After talking with different senior care facilities and memory care facilities and what they could afford, we've decided to price it between $250 and $400 depending. We believe that in the first year, we could sign contracts of 6-month length with at least 10 different centers. Given that, and even including the fact that our initial startup cost is $20,000 on top of our operating costs, we would still come out with a net profit in the first year. In the second year, we believe we can double our number of clients, and we could double it again in the third year. By the end of the third year, we're looking at profits of over $100,000 annually. However, there's a lot to be done in that initial first $20,000 before we could start launching. We are looking at establishing an advisory board of business, counseling, professionals to help advise us. We need legal counsel to establish ourselves as a 501c3, to draft our contracts that we would sign with our clients, and to ensure that we meet the necessary regulations to offer our service. We also need to establish an accounting and invoice system, among other things. All of this we will get done in the first 100 days with your support. In closing, I'd like to leave you with this quote from a legendary tango dancer, Maria Nieves. It says, "Dance with everybody, not just one partner." We really took that to heart in exploring all of our options everywhere, as well as just trying to dance with everyone. So thank you, judges, and thank you for inviting us to this competition. It's been a wonderful opportunity for us. We've really learned a lot, and I'd like to open the floor for questions.
Thank you. Very quickly, so you do a 6-month contract. How often would you plan on running sessions, or what are your projections based on?
Those are based on once a week.
Once a week?
Once a week.
Okay, and how long are the sessions for?
2 hours each.
2 hours each. Okay.
And again, at the beginning of the course, at the beginning of the period, and at the end of the period, we would do the assessments mentioned at the beginning.
Okay.
Yes.
Talk more about what happens in the second hour of the session.
The second hour is group therapy, which is one of the most validated therapy, group therapy, which is where we gather them and we talk about, at the beginning because dancing, it can have different effects, you can have different feelings about it. So we just talk like process, it's mainly process, but how do you feel about it? How is working everything for you? And also we because there's going to be a clinician there, he or she assess a risk in case there is something going on.
Physical risk, mental risk?
Mental health assessment mainly. It's like a social worker or clinical mental health, so it's literally group process, which is.
So this is a licensed, trained clinician who you are providing.
Mm-hmm. Yes. So it will be a licensed professional counselor who needs to be there.
And forgive my ignorance in this market, but are there any additional, hurdles, licensing requirements, because this is healthcare, with your bringing an individual into this setting?
Yeah, so we already started this process, and this is part of the administration process, so we need to follow the HIPAA regularization and all. There's like a bunch of things that needs to be done, but it's mainly regulations, but there's no any certification, because group therapy is a very common therapy, and then there wouldn't be any additional thing. We just need to get the proper paperwork going.
So if I was a potential client, and I said, I want to do this, what is your estimated time between my saying yes and you're jumping through all these hoops? Like if it was today?
We think we could get that done in 3 months.
It is a process, yeah.
Thank you.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm unclear, and maybe because the answer is both, but is your target who would pay for the service, like I'm an individual in assisted care and my family, maybe the place where I live is advertising it, and, my family says, oh, we want to put you in this program? Or is your target client the assisted living location itself, who would pay to have you guys come once a week?
The second. We are targeting the assisted living facilities, going to them, offering our program, and then their patients would come in. Yes. Yes.
So you had started saying some metrics. There's a 2-to-1 ratio of dancer and counselor to individual. There's a ratio of 2-to-1. There's an hour of dancing. There's a counseling session, right?
So,
there's 2 parts to it.
Yes.
Let me just finish my thought here. It seems like dancers are a huge part of the proposition.
Yes.
And on the financial model, there wasn't much about the acquisition of dancers to support the 600 plus.
No, that's a very good point.
600 plus homes or practices
No,
that
I'm
deal
glad
with.
you brought that up.
So what's the process of getting dancers? What's the process of keeping them satisfied? Is that is that an acquisition strategy you need to have that will
Yes.
incur cost, time, attention?
Right. No, that is absolutely true. So first of all, I mentioned earlier we have over 2,500 tango dancers already, many of whom are counselors. That's where the initial draw will come from. And we have gotten it down where we could take tango dancers and train them to work for us within 10 hours of training time. And people who have some dance background but not necessarily tango, we could train them in under a month to work for us. And 2 teachers would be serving classes of size 20-ish students.
Okay.
So that's where that ratio, I'm not sure if you have that ratio
It's not
right.
a 1-to-1, it's a class.
Correct, it's a class. So we have 2 teachers per 20 students.
And the 2,500 number is those that have verbally committed to doing this, or I thought you had described 2,500 as like the market size
No,
of dancers.
that's the
in
market
DC.
size of dancers.
Okay, so
We
they
have
haven't all committed,
No,
so to speak.
we have at least 10 who have already committed
Right.
to us. Yes. And so if you see the contract number, we said 10 contracts in the first year. That means we need 10 6-month periods. We need 5 teams to get that done.
Right,
So we need at least 10 people.
Okay.
And we believe that is entirely possible.
right.
Just to clarify, that the 10 teachers, they're going to be serving as the counselors as well. So,
Half of them, yes.
okay.
Yes.
What's the question? Like the teachers are going to do the 1 hour of the adapted tango, and the clinical mental health counselor will do the group. So
So
we'll
it's
do the
separate.
group
I think that was your
therapy.
question to me.
Right,
So
so-
the leading of the first hour is the
Is
the
a
dance
dancer.
instructor, and the counselor, mental health counselor license, is going to lead the second hour.
Okay.
Just
And they
the-
can handle the 20 students, or okay, all right.
Would you guys ever consider even just broadening away from just tango and have it focus on dance? And that way, you'd broaden your base of teachers, and then 2, from a end user experience. I'm thinking if I'm in an, assisted living home, it's fun to get tango every week, but it would also be fun to like learn some hip hop or, just to kind of break
So this is
the
another
program
question.
up. Especially if you do it for like a year, let's say. Like, you want to have kind
Some
of
variety, right?
some variety.
No, I'm glad you brought this up because this is one of the reasons we chose adapted tango. It's a very simple walking dance. It can be done to almost any form of music. And the way we've done it is to start with traditional tango, just walking, but then we could mix in different kinds of songs, waltz, salsa, bachata, all these other variations we could actually offer our dance with. And it's still the simple same dance, different variations of music, different things. That was one of the reasons we chose
about that
this.
dance in particular
Yeah.
that's like medically
Yes.
okay?
So what it is adapted. So there's Argentine tango, and then there's adapted tango. That is what we're using, and Dr. Hackney has used it in different neurocognitive disorders such as Parkinson's disease, and has been proven to be effective there. So that's what we're using in the other neurocognitive disorders, which is the most common, Alzheimer's disease. That's what we use in adapted tango. Now we need to be multicultural competent in the sense that we go to an area that is more, African American or more Latin, that they want a specific dance, we will do it, but with music, they are more, they resonate more with them. So we want to be competent in that sense. But therapeutically, it has been proven to be very effective to the other neurocognitive disorders, and that's why we chose adapted tango.
And real quickly, one of the two main reasons adapted tango was chosen by Dr. Hackney and before is because it's simple, it's walking, it's slower, so it's easier for seniors to learn, and then it's improvisational, so it requires a little more mental activity.
So I want to talk about the customer for 2 seconds. Home care assisted living facilities are not the most innovative facilities. So talk to me about 2 things. One is, have you talked with them? Like, how did you arrive at pricing? Number one, and number 2 is, what is the incentive for a home care or a assisted living facility to provide this?
So we literally call different senior facilities, memory care centers, just a lot of phone calls just to see what is it that they can pay, and so we can price our product and see if it's feasible that we can actually go there. And so, of course, there are some senior facilities they don't have funds, but there are a lot of senior facilities they do have a lot of funds. And so the difference is that they can provide some dance, but they are not using as an intervention. So they did like the idea, and then we actually have 2 potential clients that already wanted to talk to us for the following week. And that is just how it happened when we were pricing and we're talking about how we're using this intervention. And the main difference is that we are sort of in the middle of entertainment and therapy, and so I think that's the main difference that we have in, and that's what they are interested in.
One of the other things is everywhere we went, the common theme was seniors love to dance. So everywhere seemed very enthusiastic about having some sort of dance program. And then on top of that, having therapeutic benefits was just a huge bonus.
You talked about here in DC, and thank you for sizing that market. And I won't go too much into feedback, but trying to think more of the bigger picture, are you looking to target different facilities that have a national reach? I don't know like that world at all, but I know you talked about some partnerships, but I would think in the go to market and getting it out to as many different facilities with the least amount of work, targeting those facilities that have national reach or that are part of association. Is that something that you thought about?
It's on the to-do list, but the training is very personal, so it's best if we could meet in person with everyone we deal with. And so jumping nationally right out the gate is a little bit of a big bite to chew off of.
No, we do have connections because of the tango community. We have connections throughout the country, so it is going to be feasible, but we wanted to be cautious and we start here, and then little by little we're going to expand, and I think that's a great idea to use it to expand, yeah.
Yes.
Or even I wonder if you might think of doing some sort of, I hate to say it, like Uber model, where you have a platform that you create where dancers who want to donate their time can kind of sign up to do a social good, and you can match them with assisted living places that are within their radius?
Thank you so much.